All right, hello people. Today is January 22nd, 2022. I'm Chris Lucas. I got a website called fishingfortruth.com. I think I'm on YouTube up under the Protestant View, which is my old YouTube channel, which I had 5 years ago. Never hardly used it. Remembered I had it, decided to use it because, everything's getting banned. But I'm going to try to do a show that's not going to be banned today. At least not on YouTube, and gonna try to make it pretty quick. And so up on my screen, one thing I want to say real quick. Hey, I just stumbled across the guy's YouTube page the other day. His name is David Nikao, Nikao. I'm not sure how to pronounce it, or Nikao, David Nikao, Wilcoxson. Anyway, I got some of his name printed in my description, but he did this really good series on the Revelation timeline Decoded. I really strongly recommend people to watch that to understand a historicist view of the Bible and how most of Revelation has already been how we're deeper into Revelation than what most churches teach. And I'll just leave it at that so I don't make that too long. But anyway, up on my screen, you see we got a quote from Donald Trump. It says, I hope everyone remembers when they're getting the COVID-19 vaccine that if I wasn't president, you wouldn't be getting that beautiful shot for 5 years at best, and probably wouldn't be getting it at all. Former President Donald Trump. And he is so correct about that. But all these Q people, they keep saying, oh, Donald Trump is saving us with the safe vaccine. The deep state was going to roll out this biological weapon, but Trump, because he ran it out sooner, it's safer. Yeah, it's killing a few people, but it's so much safer. Okay, and I'm not going to go into all that. People know what I feel about that. His vaccine. But Donald Trump did get rid of the vaccine safety office 5 years ago, and I showed you that on my last video, the article and everything. So I do source these things. I just don't want to get into everything and source everything, or this video would take too long. Because I know people get upset, but I got proof in my other videos. So anyway, so in 2019, early 2019, Donald Trump gets rid of the vaccine safety office because we got to get this vaccine rushed out really fast because, hey, I guess he's playing 4D chess. Let's get rid of the vaccine safety office, right? So get it out there faster, get it into the arms of little kids, kill them all, kill a few of them maybe. I don't know, a lot less. It's a much safer one, But, no, YouTube, I'm not saying the vaccine's dangerous. At least not in this video. Okay, so now I want to get to the main point. There's this article. I'll show you. It's an official government article from the NIH. This is back in 2016. And it's called, I guess the full part of it is rapid medical countermeasure response to infectious diseases, enabling sustainable capabilities through ongoing public and private sector partnerships workshop seminary. So I guess that's what this book is right here. So inside this little booklet, we go down to I guess maybe it's chapter 6. It's got a 6 by. It says, developing MCMs for coronaviruses. Medical countermeasures. That's what that MCM means, okay? So, now I want to reiterate what the title of my video is. Did Trump foil their plans by releasing the vaccine earlier? Okay, so that's why I'm reading this. Now, I already have some of this highlighted in my show notes. I just kind of want to go to that to make it faster for me, because I got the parts I want to read highlighted. But anyway, it says Castles explained that Castles explained that NIAID has a dual mandate on both the basic and applied research side and on the rapid response side of the spectrum. In addition to a host of different grant mechanisms, the NIAID provides support across product development pipeline through resource facilities, partnership, contract resources, and clinical trial support, generally through phase 2. The NIAID response to SARS includes contracts, intramural research, and grants. The initial mechanism in 2003 was to rapidly supplement existing coronavirus grants. In 2004, approximately 100 million in SARS-specific grant funding was awarded. Contracts were established quickly, including 3 vaccine development contracts and a monoclonal antibody contract. However, now this is the key part, funding was provided for only 4 years. Castles added that the risk-benefit ratio changes over the course of an outbreak. When there are many cases, the risk is much higher. As the number of cases decreases, interest in finding a vaccine starts to wane, as others have highlighted, and the risk-benefit ratio changes, making a vaccine a harder sell from regulatory perspective, among others. So, see, by Trump rushing it out, no, the shot coming out early did not mess up their plans. It did the opposite. You obviously haven't, these people that push this theory obviously have no clue how long they have been planning this, or the papacy's role in setting this whole thing up for centuries. And I believe this whole thing was set up for centuries. And but when you push this, it's like, see, you guys keep saying that by Trump rushing it out, that he was saving people, saving lives, and that and that's not what these controllers wanted. No, what I just read you shows you that they wanted this to be rushed out faster. Why? Because they noticed that over a course of an outbreak, as the number of cases decrease, which is what's going to happen if people build up natural immunity, and been exposed to the virus. Because let's just say, like, for instance, instead of locking down, Donald Trump just said, no, we're not going to lock down. Just keep everything open. And even if Biden becomes president, even if people go, oh my gosh, Trump, we hate you. You didn't lock down. Let's just say Donald Trump didn't lock down. Everybody was forced to work. Guess what would have happened? The same thing that even my Democrat friends that had to work throughout the pandemic, most of them, even if they started out scared of it and not knowing what this was, most of them are not scared of it. Because you know what happens? You didn't have a face mask in the beginning. You had 100 customers, you had more than 100. You had thousands of customers coming up to you in your face, asking you where products are, because no one was marking off the aisles, making 6 feet distance, little tape marks in the aisleways. No one was doing any of that stuff for the first 2 months, right? I mean, at least not any place I went into, and I still had to work the whole pandemic. Anyone who had to work through it in a grocery store, a clerk, a gas station, whatever you were doing, it's like, well, hey, you know what? I didn't have a mask on for those 2 months because there were no masks, and I'm still alive, and now you want me to put on a mask. See, it's like, it's real hard for people to want it. Most people, no matter who they are, almost every single one of them did not like doing it. I'm not going to say it doesn't work, because I'm not going to get this show kicked off YouTube. What I'm saying is they didn't like it because it's like, we weren't doing it the first 2 months. There were no masks. If people remember what was happening, there were no masks. And so what happens is, if you've had to work through it, you're more like, hey, I must have been exposed to it, and now all of a sudden you want to change the rules on me. And so those people would have started to have their doubts, right? And they wouldn't have been interested, because it's like, what do I want a vaccine for? I've been working all this time without a face mask. I don't even want to wear a face mask. And now you're trying to make me wear a face mask. And now you want me, and then like 6 months later, you're going to be wanting these people to be forced into a vaccine. See, like, that's what I mean by Trump rushing this out. This was horrible. Locking us down, this was horrible. And before people go, oh no, Trump was not against the lockdown. Let me remind you that Trump bashed Sweden on Twitter. I should be able to find that pretty fast. Should be able to find it right up here somewhere. Well, maybe they just haven't loaded up yet. I think it's up in there. Oh, it might be in the video, actually. So I gotta wait till that video. Here we go. It finally skips. Okay, so they got it in the video. So right here, here's this tweet. Oops, shoot. Okay, so it says, despite reports to the contrary, Sweden is paying heavily for its decision not to lock down. As of today, 2,462 people have died there, a much higher number than the neighboring countries of Norway, 207, Finland, 206, or Denmark, 443. The United States has made the correct decision. That's what Donald Trump is saying on April 30th, 2020. When a lot of people were out there, protesting the lockdown, he was saying, no, you stupid protesters. I made the right decision. So all those people out there must be like a bunch of rhinos and just right-wing nutcases. They can't possibly be pro-Trumpers because the pro-Trumpers, you would look stupid because this guy is calling you stupid if you're protesting. Okay, he's calling you the dumb ones. He's saying the United States made the correct decision. You're the dumb one who made the wrong decision. Stop protesting me. I'm Donald Trump. I'm making the right decision. That's what he's telling you. I want you to get that in your skull. A lot of you have thick skulls and you don't understand. You want to project what you want to believe. But what he's telling you is that he made the right decision. Locking you down is the right decision. You not getting to see your grandmother's the right decision. Yeah, if these are the rules we got to do, those are the right rules. You don't get to hold your grandmother's hand while she's dying. To that, I'm making the correct decision. I'm Donald Trump. Okay, that's Donald. Okay, so let's kind of make sure we got that clear. He was bashing the Sweden model. I can even go one step further. Real clear news. I think that's it. Oh, here it is. Good. It popped right up. Just a little reminder. Remember, Donald Trump was making the vaccine and all that, when this stuff was first coming out, right?
The risk to New York.
I want you, and if you don't believe me, go look up Donald Trump coronavirus timeline. Type that into YouTube. You should find this clip where it goes through all these things about Donald Trump, saying from the start of from almost like I think January, all the way to like towards the end of his presidency. So January of 2020, all the way to almost the end of his presidency. And you can see that he's talking about what? A vaccine, making a vaccine. When? Oh, even in January, he was talking about this. Yeah, January 25th or 26th, he was talking there. It says it's got all the little dates up there. So, but as you can see, look, February 2nd. So this is after now. See, Donald Trump just had this news conference, January 26th. Saying that, hey, we're working on a vaccine. Let's see what all the Democrats are saying, because this is nothing but Democrats. Because that's why it's called Democrats Give Dangerous Coronavirus Advice. So let's see what they were saying. Now, remember, this is Democrats, February 2nd.
markers for coronavirus is low.
And our city preparedness is high.
This should not stop you from going about your life, should not stop you from going to Chinatown and going out to eat. I'm going to do that today myself.
Now, some of these, now that first one was February 2nd, but some of these are all the way up to the first week of March. Like when they're talking about come out to Mardi Gras and all this other stuff, that's in March. So keep that in mind when they start saying that stuff.
Come to Chinatown. Here we are. We're, again, careful, safe, and come join us.
There is no concern at this time for coronavirus in our region.
The Department of Sanitation is ready for Mardi Gras 2020.
The facts are reassuring.
We want New Yorkers to go about their daily lives.
There's really no need to panic and to avoid activities that we always do as New Yorkers. We are a hardy people.
Americans do not need to panic. What I would suggest, however, is that Americans take this as a wake-up call for seasonal flu.
There's very little threat here. This disease, even if you were to get it, basically acts like a common cold or flu.
So we're telling New Yorkers, go about your lives, take the subway, go out, enjoy life.
And certainly not to miss the parade next Sunday. I'm going to be there.
If you had to, would you close down the borders?
No.
We just need to be honest about the American people, with the American people about the fact that we can't keep people coming here from China.
And transmission is not that easy. I think there's been a misperception that coronavirus hangs in the air waiting to catch you. No, it takes direct person-to-person contact.
We also know that if it were likely to be transmitted casually, we would be seeing a lot more cases.
Right. Because this is New York, and you're in elevators and trains with everybody all the time.
So just remember, it's not like you can't say, oh, the Democrats would have got Donald Trump. No, you crazy people. The Democrats wouldn't have got Donald Trump. The Democrats are saying, come out, party, man. So this is Donald Trump. This is all 100% on Donald Trump. Okay? Now, back to my point. Sorry. Yeah, but I feel like that's really important for anyone that's kind of see this video. You gotta get it through your thick skull. Donald Trump was the one that was like, it's coronavirus. I'm freaking out. I gotta build a vaccine. I gotta shut the country down. It wasn't the Democrats. And look, I'm not a Democrat. I vote Republican. I did not vote I did not vote for too many Republicans this year, though. And definitely not Donald Trump. Not after what he did, because I can see that he's clearly a Democrat, in my opinion. Because he sure didn't lock her up, did he? He said, nah, that played good before the election, but now, nah, you don't want that. You don't want that. Anyone that doubts me, just go watch it. Some of my coronavirus or vaccine timeline videos and Donald Trump videos I do on Odysee and Fishing for Truth, and you will see that I got plenty of proof, plenty of video. But anyway, so when you say, oh, Donald Trump is saving us by coming out with that vaccine early, no, and I'm going to read a little bit more of this article. But as you can see, they needed it to be faster, right? So I'm just going to kind of just go through this super quick. This is a long article, so I just want to hit the main points. So now later on in it says, an important note is that the Chiron initiated and funded this program at their own financial risk when they saw the emergence of the outbreak in Hong Kong and Southeast Asia in 2002, 2003. They're talking about the SARS. Mansoura said. Also important was the fact that the researchers at Chiron had an ongoing collaboration with the University of Marburg Biohazard Level 4 facility, which enabled them to begin work immediately. Unfortunately, Mansoura said, the program ended in August 2009 due to expiration of the NIH grant and disappearance of the threat. See, had we just kind of not locked down, this threat would have went down, cases would have went down because, It's just what, things do over time. It's like it's kind of like, the vaccine, you don't 100% know how well it's actually working, because like the weakest people probably already got the virus, and probably already, if that's why, like, they had all these people with comorbidities that died from it. Well, why were they so susceptible? They were weaker. It's like a cold could have killed them, And some people, you don't know, with the way these PCRs are set up, how high did you have the cycle threshold? I don't know. I know if it's set to 45, you can almost find coronavirus in anyone, as far as I understand. Not saying that's absolutely true. I've never run a PCR test, but from what I've read, that seems to be what they say. And the guy who invented it said it, Kary Mullis, Karymullis, if anyone needs to look that up. But he invented it, and he happened to die in 2019, towards the end of 2019, right before this all broke out. So how convenient. But anyway, it says a key limitation was the disappearance of the threat, which resulted in the lack of will to pursue this vaccine development program further. Okay. Another key sentence in the article. Themes throughout the presentations included the missed opportunities for coronavirus research after both the threats and funding decreased, and the potential urgent need to reinstate vaccine candidate development programs within a short timeline. See, look at that. Short timeline. In fact, I think I'll make that a little bit bigger for my future notes. So they needed that short timeline, right? Sustainability depends on the mission and the direction of the company. Wong continued, saying, the will and the vision of a strong leader can move a company, but it also requires the company to have the resources to sustain the process. A company must consider the value or return on investment of the program. So further down in the article, it says, waiting for a virus to emerge to move platforms forward in development will not be a sustainable way to achieve progress. So the key thing about that sentence is waiting for a virus to emerge to move platforms forward in development will not be a sustainable way to achieve progress. So if you can't wait for a virus to emerge, what do? Do you create a virus to emerge? Do you create a pandemic? I mean, I'm not saying that's what they did. I'm just, asking that question. And so, and I guess if you can't wait for a virus to just magically emerge or randomly emerge, if you were to create a virus to emerge, it would be a sustainable way to achieve progress, maybe. Or maybe if you just prolong its emergence, right? And make it seem like it emerges more, like, I don't know, like, what if you just happen to have faulty tests? I'm not saying they have faulty tests, but I'm saying, like, what if they happen to have these faulty tests that give a bunch of false positives? And then you thought, like, wow, these cases are flying up and up and they gain more and more. Like, I mean, would that be kind of like a way of like, would they consider that like that? I mean, that would probably look like it was emerging. I mean, I'm just throwing that out there. Now, Mansoura reiterated the point made by Vin Kaya of Takeda and others that corporate social responsibility alone will not drive a company to develop a product. So that means they're not developing a product just because they just love people or they feel socially responsible. It says partnership and approaches to reduce the risk for companies are needed, like government funding, zero liability, things like that. One of the challenges for government funders is allocating the right amount of money to draw in the types of partners needed. like you can have like something like warp speed and have like this like, like $1 trillion to, fund in different ways, all these different things, right? Now I just want to go down further to the into the paragraph. It says Pavia of the University of Utah stressed the need to engage more experts in business, economics, and even behavior to understand how to sustain momentum and funding and support when the need is not clearly present. So maybe a need would not be clearly present if it wasn't, if maybe there was a virus that didn't seem that serious, and if you thought the cases were going down, but maybe if you had a bunch of faulty tests, maybe it would cause a spike in the cases, or maybe the tests weren't faulty, but maybe people were just like, you're accidentally misdiagnosing a disease. Like, okay, this disease has this symptom. Hey, this other disease has the same symptom. Like, I don't know, like let's take flu, for example. You're sneezing, you're coughing, coronavirus, COVID-19, you're sneezing and coughing. And maybe the person actually has flu, but you're just like, it's the same symptoms. And some people might accidentally misdiagnose and be like, that's coronavirus. And that goes under ticket. And that spikes up the case counts too, and the death counts too. And you're like, whoa, all these people are dying. I'm not saying that's what happened. I'm just saying, I'm just using that for an example. I'm not even talking about that specific thing when I'm talking about that. Because this article was written way before coronavirus, so I can't possibly, like, I'm not really referring to coronavirus. I'm just using that as an example of today. And I'm not saying that's what really happened. So, and I'm also not saying that's not what really happened. But anyway, participants also highlighted an opportunity for more innovative ways to secure funding. We should not always be looking to the government, Cox said. Compelling stories are needed to interest investors, and we need to learn how to better engage potential stakeholders that have an interest in finding solutions. So compelling stories are needed to interest investors. Kind of like the news, all these death counts. This is a deadly pandemic. We're having to shut things down. Woe's me. What can we do? What can possibly save us? Oh, they're working on a vaccine. Hallelujah. Wow, this is almost like a miracle. I can't believe how fast they're developing it. And that's a compelling story. Especially if you can just keep the case counts going, flying through the roof. And then, I'm almost done. Sorry. There are a couple of interesting things I'll leave at the end. But it says Daszak also shared during the recent Ebola outbreak, EcoHealth Alliance issued a press conference and an analysis predicting which countries would be the first to be infected as a result of global air travel. The United States was predicted to be one of the top 3 countries that would receive infected individuals from countries with the Ebola virus. And it was predicted that the patient would arrive into Dulles, Boston Logan, Newark, and or JFK Airport. They anticipated a lot of attention and coverage, but instead, again, there was very minimal pickup by the media. Daszak reiterated that until infectious disease crisis is very real, present, and at emergency threshold, it is often largely ignored. So, by blowing these case counts up, you can, hey, it's at an emergency threshold, right? And now it can't be ignored. To sustain the funding based beyond the crisis, he said, we need to increase public understanding of the need for medical countermeasures, such as pan-influenza or pan-coronavirus vaccine. A key driver is the media, and the economics will follow the hype. We need to use that hype to our advantage to get to the real issues. Investors will respond if they see profit at the end of the process. How much profit did Pfizer receive lately? Isn't it like billions of dollars? And I kind of want to go to like one key thing that Fauci said. I'm going to bring this over here. Just want you to keep this in mind. This is October 29, 2019. And I want you to think about how how that article I just read, basically how they said, they need to change the system, right?
Why don't we blow the system up? I mean, obviously we can't just turn off the spigot on the system we have and then say, hey, everyone in the world should get this new vaccine we haven't given to anyone yet. But there must be some way that we grow vaccines mostly in eggs, the way we did in 1947.
In order to make the transition from getting out of the tried and true egg growing, which we know gives us results that can be, beneficial. I mean, we've done well with that, to something that has to be much better. You have to prove that this works, and then you've got to go through all of the clinical trials, phase 1s, phase 2s, phase 3, and then show that this particular product is going to be good over a period of years. That alone, if it works perfectly, is going to take a decade.
There might be a need or even an urgent call for.
Now, I want to say, did you hear that part, though? That might take a decade, right? So see, their whole thing, and that article I read you, well, if it takes a decade, people are going to lose interest. They're going to lose funding, right? Because people are going to be like, man, I've been living with this thing for like a decade already. Or even if you were like, oh, well, hey, if Donald Trump didn't do it, Donald Trump wouldn't be president no more because the media would be mad at him. Okay, so let's say Donald Trump never locked down, never did warp speed, and people are like, man, we're so mad at Donald Trump. We're so mad at Donald Trump. And then Biden gets in. Biden tries to do this, right? Let's say he starts it up. It's going to at the very least, take 9 months to a year to develop a vaccine. That means you got 2 years that you have been living with COVID-19, right? And most people are going to be like, okay, now you're locking us down, and now Biden, you're going to make us wait like another a year for this vaccine. And then it's like, it's all rushed out. It's like, why am I taking this? And like, I think it would have been very hard. And then people were like, but see, you got to remember these Q people and all these like Trump supporters. They were like, but Trump rushed out. Their plan was to bring out a deadlier one in 4 to 5 years, right? Well, I think they said 5 years. A deadlier one. Okay, so you bring out a deadlier vaccine in 5 years, right? But I mean, no one would care in 5 years. You couldn't even force this on a Democrat in 5 years. There's no way you could force this on them. You've already been living with it. You're like kind of like already people like are kind of getting tired of this, And it's like, you think you could do this for 5 years? And be real slow about it. And I think it would be even slower because it's not a Republican that you trust, that you think is like some super genius and some super savior and some Christ-like figure. No, it's Biden. And you're not going to have the same trust. You're going to have more of a fight, more criticism. And then what if, instead of Donald Trump messing up all your social media, which is what he did because he gave $250 million to the ad council. And people will be like, yeah, it's all these like leftist running social media places. They're restricting free speech. Well, you know what, Donald, he gave these people the money. Guess what? When you give someone like YouTube a few $1 million, well, if it's like a channel like mine, a few other people's that was only like giving YouTube maybe, I don't know, an extra. Like you take like all of our channels combined and we're maybe contributing like a few million to YouTube, right? Like me, not even that, I was like a small channel, but there's other people, you talk about some of these other voices doing this kind of news and reporting. Like if you take them away, you're only talking about maybe killing a few million of YouTube's like, profits a year, right? But if you give YouTube like all this money in coronavirus advertisement, vaccine advertisement, you've made up for that. You more than made up for that. Not to mention the money that Pfizer or Moderna might be giving them, you more than made up for it. So you can get, but see, Donald Trump could have been like, well, hey, you don't get any of this this ad money unless you allow free speech. No government money can go to your social media or your TV or your radio stations unless you allow free speech. But if we catch you doing anything to the First Amendment, you get that money taken away, and you have to pay back double or something like that. And then they wouldn't have done this. So see, there's a lot of things, it's like how I'm supposed to be some idiot is what most of you call me. So if I'm some idiot, Donald Trump, this great 4D chess player with all these like advisors that are supposed to be way smarter than me, and I bet they are. But see, that's the whole thing. I bet they are all smarter than me, but they're so corrupt. They don't think about this. It's not that they don't think about this. They choose not to do it. They choose to even sabotage any way of doing it. That's how corrupt they are. And that's what you got to get through your skulls is that, no, I see, I'm not really that smart. I don't think I can outthink these people. I think these people can outthink me. But I think they're so corrupt, they don't even suggest these ideals. They don't even put these ideals out there. And hey, if you don't think I'm corrupt, why don't you go, hey, Donald Trump, why don't you have Chris Lucas work with you? This guy seems smart. He's got all these ideals like, hey, you wanted to cure all that election fraud ideal? Like, right? I'm not saying there was election fraud. Hear me out, YouTube, because I know you tried to ban me one time. I'm not saying there was election fraud. It happened exactly like what Donald Trump wanted it to happen. And so I don't think there was any election fraud whatsoever. I think the election happened exactly as planned. And I don't think anyone who was involved in winning or losing it cared one single bit. And I think that's why the results turned out that way. But let's say, Donald Trump actually wanted to win the election. One thing he could have done to get more support was in 2016, what happened? What were some of the Democrats crying about? Bernie Sanders, right? They were like, oh, Bernie got ripped off by Hillary and all these people, Debbie Wasserman Schultz. Okay. Now, they're crying about that. They really care. One thing you could have done, Donald, just to kind of like help with your image. And I know people can go, no, they're going to hate Donald Trump anyway. Well, no. You can at least try a few things. And not only that, you can actually use it as something to be like, well, let's make sure, because this also protects you in the future, Donald Trump, just in case someone tried to rig your election. You could be like, wow, that looks real suspicious what happened to Tim Canova when he ran against Debbie Wasserman Schultz in the primary. Remember, Debbie Wasserman Schultz supposedly, according to a lot of Democrats, said, oh, Debbie Wasserman Schultz was in on trying to rig the debates and help rig the election to favor Hillary. Now, here she goes in a controversial Democratic primary with Tim Canova, and it looks like Tim Canova, like they can't find, I think what it was they couldn't find the ballot images because they wanted to do a recount, and they couldn't find them. And so Donald Trump could have investigated that and been like, hey, and got on their good side that way, just like he could have investigated Fauci for what he did with AIDS research in Africans, to try to get on black people's good side. Like, there was a lot of little things he could have done to try to kill like a few birds with one stone, because you could have made the enemy, the so-called enemy party, look bad. Like, wow, look, they're rigging their own elections against their own people. How can you support this party? Because had you went after that, I think a lot of Democrats there's Jared Beck who brought up a lawsuit against the Democrat National Committee and got them to admit in a lawsuit that they rigged their own election. They rigged their own election, from what I understand, but they said they had a First Amendment right to. And go look that up. Jared Beck. I can't remember what it's called. What does he say? I don't know. But it was something to do with the DNC fraud lawsuit. Jared Beck, DNC fraud lawsuit. Just go Google that sometime and read what they said. If you don't believe me, but that was like said in court. So, there's lots of things he could have done. And I won't even go to all the deep state that Donald Trump nominated. I mean, you start getting me to go into all the 2017, Pfizer gives him $1 million for his inauguration. Later in 2017, he gives Pfizer a $25 billion tax break, which was like the largest tax break of any company got. Happened to be Pfizer and a few other pharmaceutical companies that Trump also had stock in, right? And then you see Donald Trump, what does he do? He signs an executive order September 19th, 2019, authorizing an advancement in these platforms. And that's found in A World at Risk, I believe, their brochure. Earlier in 2018 and 2019, all these states were getting rid of religious exemptions. Religious exemptions for vaccines, right? And I did have someone that was like, "Oh, Chris, no, Donald Trump would never do that." And I just kind of want to, I guess I actually had to play that, man. Donald Trump, measles. Oops. Kind of go back. I think I got a better way to find it. And we'll play this little clip.
Not all 5G networks are created equal. It's clear to see. T-Mobile is the
I don't need to get free advertising. I can't put my hand over the screen like that. That's wishful thinking.
Get vaccinated. You tell parents about getting their kids vaccinated. Measles. I'm a measles. Measles. Tell parents about that. They have to get the shot. The vaccinations are so important. This is really going around now. They have to get their shots. How old is too old to be president?
So he says they have to get their shots. They have to get their shots. It's too important. Now, okay, if they have to get their shots, I'm not going to fight for their religious exemptions for vaccines. No, that's too important. Now, if that's too important, and this is just for measles, it's not the most deadliest disease in the world ever, like coronavirus, it's measles. He's not going to defend religious exemptions. So what makes you think that he cared about, he wasn't going to mandate it? Well, he said he wasn't going to mandate it. Chris, no, he said that about measles, but he wasn't going to mandate coronavirus. No, that's silly. That's silly. It's stupid. Dude, this is not. This is measles. It's not a very deadly disease. And he was like, oh no, I'm not going to fight those mandates, right? So what makes you think he would have really done? I know politicians say, you know what? Biden said he wasn't going to mandate the coronavirus vaccine before he was elected. And he said it was, I think he even said it was bad. He didn't trust it because it was Donald Trump's vaccine. But he becomes president and he's like, oh man, we got to get this Donald Trump shot into every person's arm. Now, so people can lie. Politicians can lie. And look, he's not. Right there, he's not defending it. Now, you're telling me for a disease that's more deadly, that they're destroying people's lives. No, you can't go hold your grandma's hand while she's dying. It's too. You can look through her and through a piece of glass on the first floor. If we can even get her to stay down on the first floor, but we might not have a room on the first floor. She might be staying up on the second, third floor. So you can maybe, I don't know, maybe you can hold a cell phone up to your grandmother's face and you can talk to her that way, but you don't get to hold her hand. No touching her, no being in the room for her, no giving her comfort as she's dying, or your grandpa, or even your little kid, because this is a deadly disease. See, and you're telling me if you got to do things like that to people, but oh no, he ain't gonna mandate. No, get out of here. Get out of here. If you're gonna do that to people for corona, that's a lot worse than what anyone does for measles. And you're telling me he's not gonna. Oh, he'll give you your choice. He ain't giving you your choice. Get out of here. it's like such delusion, because what it is you want to project what you want him to be, and he's not that. And that's the problem. And Democrats, I don't know what you're thinking. This guy should be like, you're like the greatest thing ever for you. You know, you ones that like want the vaccine. I'll just say one more thing. I don't know if this will get me in trouble. You know what? Let me play this video. Finish playing this video. I should say one more thing though before I go.
An entity of excitement out there that's completely disruptive, that's not beholden to bureaucratic strings and processes.
So we really do have a problem.
Oh, did you catch that? Let's go back. I'll just play this whole thing one more time.
Why don't we blow the system up? I mean, obviously we can't just turn off the spigot on the system we have and then say, hey, everyone in the world should get this new vaccine we haven't given to anyone yet. But there must be some way that we grow vaccines mostly in eggs, the way we did in 1947.
In order to make the transition from getting out of the tried and true egg growing, which we know gives us results that can be, beneficial. I mean, we've done well with that, to something that has to be much better. You have to prove that this works. And then you've got to go through all of the clinical trials, phase 1s, phase 2s, phase 3, and then show that this particular product is going to be good over a period of years. That alone, if it works perfectly, is going to take a decade.
There might be a need or even an urgent call for an entity of excitement out there that's completely disruptive, that's not beholden to bureaucratic strings and processes.
So we really do have a problem of how the world perceives influenza, and it's going to be very difficult to change that unless you do it from within and say, I don't care what your perception is, we're going to address the problem in a disruptive way and in an iterative way, because you do need both.
But it is not too crazy to think that an outbreak of a novel avian virus could occur in China somewhere. We could get the RNA sequence from that, beam it to a number of regional centers, if not local, if not even in your home at some point, and print those vaccines on a patch and self-administer.
Hello, this is Tony else I say tonight.
Sorry, I'm on a playlist. It's auto playing. Let's see here. There was like something, one more thing I kind of want to. I feel like if I'm start pushing it too much, I'm gonna wind up playing something that's gonna get me kicked off of YouTube. I'm gonna try to be real careful. This is my playlist on Odysee, but I got it on private. I mean, if anyone really wants me to unprivate it, it's just stuff I was going to use to do a bunch of videos with and make comments with. But if anyone sees this playlist and tells me, hey, I really want you to make that available to the public, I'll make it available. But anyway, this is William Cooper's... someone posted a video where they show like a couple of pages of William Cooper's book, Behold a Pale Horse.
You see that vaccine? Big Brother's coming.
So this is page 444 of Behold a Pale Horse by William Cooper.
Reveals secret plan to tag every man, woman, and child on the planet. Look at that, guys. Coded microchips implanted in every person in the country would tie all of us into a master computer that could track anyone down at any moment, and plans such system ready underway, whether you like it or not.
Now, one thing was, when he was like moving this through here, I noticed, kind of blow it up. They were trying to say this would be a good way for authorities to quickly track down missing persons. Missing persons and children, as well as criminals and spies. And injections, I'm going to miss part of this because it got cut off down here. But with the astounding technology of today, everything about you could be contained in one tiny microchip, which would be connected to a government computer. You don't know what any person has done and is doing at any time. I can't read the bottom of this, but up at the top it says all they would have to do is make something up. And then, so what they're saying is all the government would have to do is make something up, like the swine flu vaccine. So isn't that kind of what some people think they were doing with the coronavirus vaccine? Some people are speculating they're making it up or conflating it with another virus like the flu or but anyway, it says, imagine if they said there was a vaccine for AIDS. People would rush in droves to get the shot. So it's like kind of like, hey, there's a vaccine for this super deadly virus known as COVID-19. And people were running out to get the shot. Or so that's what they were trying to put into people's minds. The doctors themselves may not even know what they're injecting. And really, do the doctors? I mean, like, it's not like they got the equipment to analyze these vials, right? They could be told the microchips are genetic implants that reprogram the body into fighting the disease. I think that's really weird because a lot of people are speculating that there's graphene in these, which are like genetic implants that could program the body to fighting disease. They kind of already say that about the mRNA anyway, but they don't call the mRNA a microchip, but they say it's the mRNA reprograms the body into fighting the disease, right? Kind of weird, the mRNA does the same function that they said that this genetic implant. But what's a genetic implant? I mean, well, microchips are genetic implant. They said that the microchips are genetic implants, but instead of the microchip, you just already have a computer, right, that may help make this mRNA sequence. So instead of having a microchip getting injected in you, that is the genetic implant that reprograms the body to fight the disease. Instead, they have some computer somewhere this is what they say. They got a computer somewhere that has downloaded this genetic sequence, and then they create the mRNA. For Moderna, it's mRNA 1273. And then they inject that in you. So instead of the implant, it's their supercomputer or whatever that's doing it. That reprograms your body to fight the disease. But maybe what they instead want to do, and maybe they can do this once they get 5G rolled out, is if they got something else in you, like a nano chip, some kind of microchip inside your body, and maybe they do use the graphene, if they do have graphene. I don't even know if it's in there. Just saying, people say it is. Could they, use a computer to make that chip generate something, or maybe they got something planned like that in the future. Maybe there's some deadlier pandemic coming out. And it's like, well, these variants keep changing so fast, but we got an ideal. If we can get this chip in you, we can take and have the genetic implant reprogram the body fast enough to fight the new variants. So this is your new immune system right here. And I'm just, kind of throwing that one out there. I'm not even saying that's what they're going to do or they're doing. I'm just saying, like, a future technology they could be working on. I'm not saying it's even evil. But, let's see here. I think I got what did I have? One more thing I want to play. I think I covered that one. Make sure I got all my talking points. Okay. Yeah, you know what? One thing I think about this whole pandemic too is that because of the lockdown and people went along with it, and then people bashed other people, people got scared, and now it's like the people who got scared, even if they're having like some doubts, I think they also have like a pride problem of admitting they're wrong, if they are even wrong. I mean, well, this video's on YouTube, so, but even if they were wrong, they would have a lot of pride issues. A lot of them do, at least. Very few people are humble enough to be able to say, "Oh, I was wrong." And a lot of people just want to keep doubling down and being like, "No, I know I was right." I also thought about one more thing. Yeah, I go old school. No one ever talks about this, but there was this article on ABC News, July 29th, 2020. Dr. Fauci says, wear goggles or eye shields to prevent spread of COVID-19. Now, you guys keep wearing these masks, right? Wear these masks over and over and over again, and it seems like the thing keeps spreading, right? Maybe it keeps spreading because you're not wearing your goggles and it's getting in your eyes, I mean, have you ever thought of that? Like, if you're really scared of this, don't you look up every way a virus could get in your body and be like, I'm going to protect myself? Like, I got friends that are terrified of coronavirus. I mean, they would, I got one, this big dude, man, I know, man. And he's like he actually cowers if someone comes up to him and they got their mask down here. I don't know, now that he took a couple of shots, I don't think he's as scared. Now he thinks he's vaccinated and protected. But used to, before the vaccine came out, or the thing they're calling a vaccine, if someone walked up to him and their mask was here and it wasn't over their nose, he'd be like, please pull your mask up. I'm just so scared. He actually said that to someone, and it blew me away. And so it's but if you were really scared, wouldn't you wear goggles? Wouldn't you look up all these ways of protecting yourself, like vitamin D? And as you're looking all this stuff up, I just don't know how you don't come across some of the same information that some of us other people come up with who aren't as scared, because when we take a little extra vitamin D, none of us seem to be me, and a lot of other people that were a little scared, didn't know what to think, so we go and look up all these things to build up our immunity. And a lot of us have not been sick since this started, because a lot of us we wanted to be on the safe side, and we're like, what do you do to protect yourself from this? Oh, you take more vitamin D, vitamin C. You have most people have 80% of the population have low levels of vitamin D. Oh, wow, I looked it up and I see that most of the people who die of coronavirus, they're vitamin D deficient. So we're all taking vitamin D, right? And then, hey, I haven't been sick since this whole pandemic started. And I talked to a few other people. Hey, I haven't been sick either. You know what? Maybe, it was a vitamin thing, thing going on with us. I mean, that's why a lot of people were getting sick. See, I used to get sick 3 times a year, super bad, where I'd be hacking and coughing, and it was almost embarrassing to me, especially it's I'd be around a girl or something, because I always like to, I like to look attractive at all times. And when you're sitting there hacking and coughing, I'm like, oh wow, I must be disgusting. I'd always be embarrassed, because this went on for about 20 years of my life, right? And then it's all of a sudden, I took more vitamin D and a few other vitamins, selenium, and now I haven't been sick for 2 years, and there's supposed to be like a deadly pandemic. And I thought that if that thing was real, I mean, I thought it was going to kill me, you know? I'm not saying it's not real. I'm just saying I haven't encountered it. And or maybe I have, and my immune system's so good because I've been taking all these supplements, but you know, but that's one of the things, you know, it's like, here's this guy, you know, so scared of it, never wore goggles. It can get in your eyes. And a lot of these people, man, when they tell me, like, I go walk in a grocery store and this woman told me, "Oh, sir, you're not wearing a mask. Could you please step back about 6 feet while I fix the machine or whatever?" I was like struggling with it. I'm like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know anyone believed in it. I didn't see anyone wearing goggles." You know, because I mean, that's kind of I sort of do have a little bit of an attitude when someone acts like they're actually scared of it. Now I won't take it out on a worker, but I'm like, but when but see, I know their boss isn't like, "Hey, you got to tell everybody to stay 6 feet." Their bosses are not telling that to people at most of these places. That's those individual workers thing when they start telling you, "Sir, please stay back 6 feet." Now they might have this thing where their boss is like, if you see someone not wearing a mask, just ask them if they'll please put on a mask. I could see like maybe they do that. Maybe they're like, "Look, I'll ask them, but if they don't do it, I'm not going to push it." Because I could see someone, you know, "Hey, I just want to be able to work, make a living, make money. Government's not going to give me a paycheck. I done tried getting unemployment. They won't give me unemployment. So I had to go get a job because for me, I didn't have a choice. You know, it's like they wouldn't give me unemployment. They were like, "Oh, there's work out there for your line of work. You should be able to find a job." Even though I would have had to take a 20 or 30% pay cut. They were like, "Well, for your line of work." Because, you know, I was out of work for 3 weeks and I couldn't get unemployment. And it was a bad time because I had just got that job. So it's not like I had like my bank account full and things like that. And I had to really struggle for 3 months while I was out of work because I did not know I couldn't get unemployment. And after 2 weeks go by and then they tell me I'm not getting unemployment, it's like, well, you know, what do I do? And all the other offers I was getting at that time were just like, they were garbage. But anyway, so anyway, I can understand someone going to work, you know, and they're just trying to do their job. They tell you to put them out. Like, I'm not going to go off on those people. I'm just thinking that's their boss. If I really have an issue, I'll tell them, go get their boss. Don't go off on the worker, go off on their boss. If you're really some tough person and you really want to stand up to the system, you feel like that's the way to deal with it. But when they're telling me, "Oh, stand 6 feet back," it's like, I can't help but be like, well, if I didn't think anyone thought this was real. No one's wearing goggles. So until I see someone wearing goggles, at least a face shield and a mask, I just don't buy it. You know, I don't buy that they're really scared. I mean, they're just kind of brainwashed and going by all the fear that they're told because all they're doing is wearing a mask. I know I'm kind of ranting. I could have done this video way better. Really sorry. Let's see what else I got to. Thought I had one more really interesting. Yeah, I actually got a few interesting things, but I'm not going to play them all. I think I'll play this.
And if there's one message that I want to leave with you today, based on my experience, and you'll see that in a moment, is that there is no question that there will be a challenge to the coming administration in the arena of infectious diseases, both chronic infectious diseases in the sense of already ongoing disease, and we have certainly a large burden of that, but also there will be a surprise outbreak. And I hope by the end of my relatively short presentation, you will understand why history.
Oh, here, I'll go ahead and read this. I know some people might be driving. Under Fauci's watch, chronic disease has gone from impacting 12% of the American population to 54%. We take more pharmaceutical drugs than anybody in the world, and we pay the highest prices. Fauci has made this country a pharmaceutical nation. Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
The history of the last 32 years that I've been the director of NIAID will tell the next administration that there's no doubt in anyone's mind that they will be faced with the challenges that their predecessors were faced with. So for those who think that infectious diseases is gone, there's so many people who've made foolhardy statements, not knowing at the time that they made them.
And then the other thing that I aspirationally hope to be able to encounter is the ability to rapidly respond to something brand new.
But also there will be a surprise outbreak.
Whether it's a brand new pandemic,
there will be a surprise outbreak.
Or as you mentioned, a brand new attack upon us deliberately by bioterrorists.
To jump right in the development because they're not sure whether this is going to be a economically viable product, they tend to hold back.
Okay, so there's this article they got up on the screen and from the Independent, and it's January 22nd, 1999. It says germ warfare could target ethnic groups. Genetically engineered biological weapons capable of targeting particular ethnic groups could become reality within 10 years, an expert panel warned yesterday. Viruses and other microorganisms tailored to detect the differences of the DNA of races could offer war makers and terrorists of the future a new means to carry out ethnic cleansing, said the panel convened by the British Medical Association. Yet the scientific advances that would make such weapons possible will be a spinoff of two areas of medicine with potentially huge benefits. The first is the Human Genome Project, which aims to unravel 100,000 or so genes in the human DNA by 2003, which is weird because 2003, what happened in there? The SARS, the first SARS-CoV outbreak. I'm just saying it's just kind of odd, and I'm not saying that's connected. Anyway, the other is the nascent technology of gene therapy, which tries to repair defective genes in the body.
But if you do the basic research, the early clinical studies, and bring up the process closer and closer to the end game, they are much more enthused.
Now, this other article published August 31st, 2015, it's in some kind of medical journal in the PMC. I'm not really sure what that is. But anyway, it's the title of it is mRNA, Fulfilling the Promise of Gene Therapy. So mRNA has always been associated with gene therapy, but yet if you try to call the vaccine gene therapy, for some reason it makes some people mad. Some people that run social media companies makes them mad. Like you're saying disinfo, and I mean, what is this up on my screen? You know what's odd is I got this one final thought. I think I'm going to end this video. There's some other things I shared, but I'll share it on another video if I can remember, think about it if I get time. I've been super busy, but anyway, one final thought. Okay, in 1986, they got these things like the Vaccine Safety Act. Let me make sure I got that right. Okay, that's the Vaccine Safety Study Act, which was in 2017. But here it is. HR 5546, National Childhood Vaccine Injury Act of 1986. Here's a key point to this one that I have not heard anyone mention. okay. Now, people think if their children get injured by this so-called COVID-19 vaccine, that they have to adhere to whatever was said, under these safety acts. Like, okay, this, since this is for, because they say things like, well, why did they make it to where it's available for people 16 years and up? Why didn't they make it for 18 years and up, like adults, and it's like, well, they said, now, from what I understand, they want to make it to 16 and up because now the vaccine gets covered by a broader scope of protections, right? So that's what I hear, is that was really important for them to get it down to at least the age of 16 so they could be covered under a broader scope of protections, these companies, right? But the thing about these acts is, when were they written? Were they written before 2019? Yes, almost all of them were, to my knowledge, right? So if all of them were written before 2019, and from what I understand, they're not actually, they cannot use acts written before, actually 2020, my fault. They cannot use anything written before August of 2020 to protect themselves. And here is why. Because the definition of a vaccine was changed August 20th, 2020. Not August 20th, but August 2020. I'm not sure what day. I just know it was changed because I went to the Wayback Machine and saw that they made that it was defined one way in July. And then when I looked at it for August, it had changed. So they changed it in August of 2020. So the thing is, when you write a contract, you have to go by the definitions of the words at the time the contract was written. Okay, so all these, how was vaccine defined when they came up with all these like injury acts before 2020? What was the definition of vaccine? Because that's how whatever the definition of a vaccine was at the time that act or that law was written, that's the definition you have to go by. You can't change. Like we can't write a contract. Like I can't write a contract with you and we both understand the words mean a certain way. And then let's say Webster's dictionary changes those definitions. And then I'd be like, you can't hold me to that. Webster says this means something different now. And so I did something different. No. You can hold me to whatever we put down in that contract, to whatever that word meant at that time. And you're like, no, Chris, at the time, these words meant this. We wrote this contract at this time, and therefore you're held to this. And that has been held up in court over and over and over again when it comes to legal contracts. The same thing applies to law. So I don't know exactly how all this fits in, because I don't know like what people sign when they get these vaccines and things like that. But one thing is, you're told it's a vaccine, but I mean, are you told that the definition was changed? See, I don't know how much that holds up. But if they're trying to say that these acts help give them liability, protection from liability or something, all these acts that were written before they changed the definition of a vaccine, it's like, no. You're held to whatever that meant at the time that law was written. And if those words meant a different thing at that time, you got to go by what those words meant at that time. You can't go by what the words mean today. And I just leave it at that. So that's my show. Thanks for watching. Sorry I did not really look at the chats. Man, I had to just get this done because I got to go to work today. I just didn't have time.